Hello, everybody. It is the American Doofus Show. I'm your host, Barry Welsh. Don't be a doofus. For those of you that are new to the program, thank you for viewing. Thank you for watching. Thank you for giving us a chance at earning your subscription and getting a like and a share. And for those that have been watching for a long time, this is not going to be news to you, but we talk a lot about things that don't get talked about and should be talked about, because the more we sweep things under the rug, the more chance that things come back to bite us. And I want to share a story from the mainstream media that will probably end up getting lost. 13 people were charged today, Thursday, in an alleged domestic terrorism plot to kidnap Michigan Democratic Governor Gretchen Whitmer, federal and state officials have announced. The alleged scheme included plans to overthrow several state governments that the suspects, quote, believe are violating the U.S. Constitution, end quote, including the government of Michigan and Whitmer, according to a federal criminal complaint. 6 people were charged federally with conspiracy to kidnap, and 7 other people associated with the militia group Wolverine Watchmen were charged by the state. The individuals in custody, this is a quote from the Attorney General of Michigan, Dana Nessel. The individuals in custody are suspected to have attempted to identify the home addresses of law enforcement officers in order to target them, made threats of violence intended to instigate a civil war, and engaged in planning and training for an operation to attack the Capitol building of Michigan and to kidnap government officials, including the governor of Michigan. This is why we talk about what we talk about on this show, because things like this are going to come to fruition. They're not all going to get caught by the federal government. There are too many people that want war, and it's my hope that they all are stopped, but it's my fear that that won't be the case, because this has been a long ongoing investigation. This is the only time that the words are used. So let me repeat that paragraph one more time. The individuals in custody are suspected to have attempted to identify the home addresses of law enforcement, and in order to target them, and made threats of violence intended to instigate a civil war. Okay, there are people actively trying to instigate a civil war. And that's why I had Mike Selinker on earlier in the week to talk about just these kinds of things. That's why we talk about what we talk about on the show. Let me go on. The arrests are likely to draw additional attention to the political tensions roiling the nation in the closing weeks of the 2020 election season, and underline warnings from law enforcement officials, members of Congress, and groups that track extremism about the increasing threat of militia and far right-wing groups. Whitmer at times had been the focus of extreme vitriol from far right groups over her handling of the coronavirus pandemic. Okay, let me stop there. This white militia is upset and wanted to kidnap the governor of Michigan because she was trying to stop the coronavirus, which we know kills people. All right? The black militias, on the contrary, have formed in order to help perpetuate stopping people in their communities from being killed. Okay? One is because they don't like the way somebody was trying to keep people alive, and the other one is to keep people alive. Major differences between what's going on in the different communities as far as militias go. And for those that are about backing the blue, they say, almost all white militias are saying, we back the blue, we back the blue. Well, part of their plan was they were trying to identify the homes of law enforcement officers in order to target them. Okay, I don't see how that's backing the blue. Just something to think about. Let me see. The governor of Michigan said just last week the president of the United States stood before the American people and refused to condemn white supremacists and hate groups like these two Michigan militia groups. Stand back and stand by, he told them. Stand back and stand by. Hate groups heard the president's words not as a rebuke, but as a rallying cry, as a call to action. And then it names the 6 people that were charged by the federal government, and 5 of them are from Michigan, 1 of them is from Delaware, and then 7 people were charged by the state of Michigan, and they face a variety of charges from firearms to terrorism. I want to continue reading. The FBI became aware of the scheme, first reported by the Detroit Daily News in early 2020. So this has been going on, this investigation's been going on for a long time. There are other plots probably that aren't being investigated. Court documents say the FBI planted a confidential informant to travel to Dublin, Ohio on June 6th for a meeting with about 15 people. They discussed different ways of achieving the goal, from peaceful endeavors to violent actions. Several members talked about murdering tyrants or taking a sitting governor. At one point during the meeting, the group discussed increasing their members, and one of the people arrested reached out to the Michigan-based militia group. By June 14th, a second confidential informant confirmed that the 2 groups had met, and they met in Grand Rapids, Michigan. The informant audio recorded conversations, which he said needed 200 men to storm the Capitol building, take hostages, including Whitmer, according to the complaint. Now, Whitmer wouldn't have even been in the Capitol. While the Capitol has a formal office for the governor works out of an office across the street. The explanation was that they would try the governor of Michigan for treason, and said they would execute the plan before the 2020 elections. And again, I've said repeatedly, Halloween night is the night to watch. It's 4 days before the election. Things could kick off, and martial law be declared, the election be suspended. Don't count that out. I hope it's wrong. I hope I'm a freaking doofus for thinking the things I see. But the dog whistle's already come, which was the first thing I said would happen. I said it on the night that Ruth Bader Ginsburg passed away. You can go back and watch that Friday Night Live. And I said the dog whistle that would activate, they would know when it was going to start. On Halloween night, it's four days before the election, and the timing would be perfect. I hope I'm incredibly wrong. The attendees discussed plans for assaulting the Michigan State Capitol, on countering law enforcement, first responders, using Molotov cocktails to destroy police vehicles. They also discussed plans for additional meetings during the first weekend of July. The conspirators conducted surveillance of Whitmer's vacation home on 2 occasions, and they discussed detonating explosive devices to divert police from the vacation home. The group successfully detonated an improvised explosive device wrapped in shrapnel to, quote, test its anti-personnel effectiveness, and inspected the underside of a nearby highway bridge as a potential place to rig an explosive charge. Remember, every time I've talked about civil wars, I've said, they're going to blow up overpasses and block interstates to block the flow of goods and services. Earlier this month, it was confirmed that one of the leaders had purchased a taser, which he had previously discussed doing so for the use in the kidnapping plot. The FBI says that the four main leaders plan to meet on October 7th to pay for explosives and swap tactical gear. Criminal complaint details how the suspects used Facebook, including a private group, to discuss the plot. Facebook said it is cooperating with the FBI. The quote from a Facebook spokesperson was, "We proactively reached out and cooperated with the FBI early in this ongoing investigation." And they added, "We remove content, disable accounts, and immediately report to law enforcement when there is a credible threat of imminent harm to people or public safety." The 5 federal defendants that are Michigan residents made a court appearances this afternoon, and bond hearings are scheduled for Thursday. At one point in the spring, armed protesters entered the state capitol in Michigan, where it is legal to openly carry firearms, and demanded an end to Michigan's state of emergency. Now, Republicans, the state Republican Senate Majority Leader said, quote, "A threat against our governor is a threat against all of us." And the head of the Republican Party in Michigan said, "We live in a nation where we settle our political disagreements at the ballot box, not through violence. And any attempt to do so otherwise is an attack on our Constitution, our values, and our American way of life." I wholeheartedly agree with that. Does that mean that there aren't going to be more attacks that we aren't aware of? No, I really don't think it does. Now, I just wanted to make everybody aware of that this has happened. It is a part of what we've been talking about could possibly happen. And I just wanted to draw your attention to that, just in case it slips through the cracks of whatever is to come yet in the way of additional news. I'm going to be on tomorrow. Not exactly sure how it's going to go yet. I am going to be live at 9 o'clock tomorrow night. There may be an afternoon episode. I don't know just yet. But until then, tomorrow night at 9 o'clock live, we'll discuss this. We'll discuss what happens tomorrow, and we'll discuss whatever's on your mind as we do some Q&A, and it'll be a super chat, so you'll be able to help support the show as well. Give us a like, give us a subscribe, give us a share, and it's the American Doofus Show. I'm your host, Barry Welsh. Don't be a doofus.